Hello everyone, welcome back to Black Blades Gaming. My name is Dakota. Now this is a very unusual video for me to be making. I already wrote a script for this video. I recorded it. I wasn't really happy with my delivery, and I guess I was feeling like something was in the air. And so I didn't actually get to editing it and posting it clearly, which is why we're here now. ESO has been a huge part of my life. I've met my girlfriend of 5 years on there, almost 5 years. A lot of my closest friends now I've met through ESO. The best performing videos on my channel are largely ESO videos. And I thank you guys for that. All the people who watch me, I appreciate you immensely for coming and checking out things I've been making. Probably a relief to have someone who's not part of the stream team, or I guess creator program it's called now, to talk about these these changes in the game and stuff, and have these videos that really don't pull any punches. So I was originally going to make a video about the director's letter that came out on the 17th of December, which he always does, an end of year letter to kind of look back on the year past and kind of give us a bit of insight as to where the development studio's at and where we're headed in the new year. Full disclosure, spoilers for the video, I guess. I thought the letter was tone deaf and out of touch, and I have a lot to say about it, and I'm going to get to that still. But something has happened since I initially wrote the script for and recorded the original video I had planned for that. Which has made me want to change the entire focus of this video, because this shit needs to be said. And so this isn't really a scripted video. I have a bit of an outline here. I wrote some notes, but generally speaking, it's going to be off the cuff. And I'm on camera. I was on camera for the other video too, but I wanted to be on camera still because this is a pretty heavy video to make, honestly. So I think it's important. So I shaved. So let's talk about it. While I was initially pretty disappointed in the director's letter, and I've said in my last video that I wasn't planning to be charitable towards this development team anymore, I still was initially charitable towards at least Matt Furor, the studio director, along with a couple of other people on the team at ZeniMax. Matt Furor is somebody who I think genuinely wants to make a good product and has made something that he could be proud of. However, it's not in a state that is worthy of pride at this point. And I want to believe him when he says he has good ideas and good plans and cares about the community. But the tone deafness of that particular letter, as with all previous letters, there's always been a bit of tone deafness, really struck a chord with me. And if you've seen my video about the censorship system that they have implemented in ESO, you know that I have canceled my subscription. And I did that back then, just prior to that video posting, and it ran out. I buy 3 months at a time, so it ran out in December. And I have not done anything with that game really heavily since then. I run weekly trials with a couple of guilds that I like, but other than that, I don't really play it. But then, after I was already pissed off about the whole director's letter, and I had this whole big, extravaganza plan, not really extravaganza, just me in front of a camera bitching for 20 minutes or however long. Then my friend Bargain Price, who you might remember from the video about censorship, sent me a video from Nephus. Now, Nephus is a great content creator in the space for ESO. He ran ESO University. Sempiternal Way was a big thing that he was a part of. Just huge, hugely valuable community member. While he wasn't, I don't know if he was the largest creator in the space. I thought that he might have been, but I don't really pay attention to those numbers. He was definitely one of the most valuable, just in terms of his engagement with the community and offering of resources and stuff to the community to sort of help. I don't feel like this light is very good. Hold on. Yeah, whatever. Still yellow. I'll fix it in post. Anyways, he is quitting ESO. And I kind of felt this was coming for a while. He definitely, I knew he was slowing down on content from his video he did last year, or yeah, I guess last year. And I think Update 35 was a pretty like disenfranchising update for a lot of people. And I was even going to talk about that in this video about how, once again, I want to stress that under my, in my understanding of how ZeniMax was handling things, it was my belief that ZeniMax had planned to sort of work the past couple of years since Update 35 to rebuild the trust with the community and to fix their mistakes, which they have not done, which I don't think I have to tell anybody. They've not done that. That's not what they've done. That's not, I mean, I was hoping that would be the really big, punch in the gut, the really big fire under their ass that they really needed to fix shit. But there's more going on behind the scenes that I didn't know about that makes this whole situation so much worse. So I'm going to go over the nephus video a little bit here. I do want people to go and watch that video. It's very good. It's very insightful. And I can't do it justice by just talking about it or showing clips from it, which I don't even know if I'm going to show clips, to be honest. Like I said, I'm making this video like spur of the moment, off the cuff. But so I didn't know this, but apparently there was a bunch of hate raids on Twitch streamers around ESO back in 2022 prior to the release of Update 35. And they were handled pretty poorly by ZeniMax. I guess they didn't take it seriously when they were first reached out to by members of the stream teams and stuff, what was going on. I guess they didn't take it seriously. They didn't really bother with it. And then I guess it got really out of control, and eventually they stepped in and started sending legal warnings directly to the homes of the people who were involved in those raids. And then they reached out to Nephus and others on the stream team to promise that they were going to take more precautionary measures in the future, have some kind of thing, which makes me think, I wonder if the censorship shit that they added to the game this year has anything to do with that. I mean, obviously, that's a pretty long development time to put in a simple flagging system for certain words. They already have a flagging system. Like I said, they already have a flagging system for public chats, and they just kind of expanded it to private chats, and also just had some fiasco with auto bans that they never explained. All they did was reverse it and then shut down the only forum thread that was allowed to talk about it, and then buried the follow-up one that someone else made. So then Update 35 hits right after the dissolution of the class representative program, and of course, we've all been over that. Rich Lambert had his really inane garbage that he spewed on Twitter over people's reaction to it, which is like, you literally shut down the only avenue of genuine feedback with the community and then announced an update that is so egregiously awful that people are calling you out for it. And your first reaction is to call those people idiots. I see where the direction of this company is going. Now, I had forgotten about that context of the class representative program being shut down prior to that update. But that does paint it in one hell of a light, doesn't it? Now, you also might know of the, what was it? The Vitality. There was a program that Nephus QS ran with ESOU to basically bring together a bunch of raid leads from across platforms and servers to collaborate, to offer resources to the community and help people get involved in end-game content. When the PTS cycle started for the Update 35, they lost 185 of their 300 some raid leads in that first week, 6 weeks before the official launch of update 35. If that's not a stark enough signal that there's something wrong with your update, I don't know what will convince you. Man. So then Nephus QS puts out a video about after update 35 goes live, talking about how bad it is, because he did a raid and he did the new raid that had just come out 3 months prior to check, kind of get a feel for how things are really going with this new update. I guess maybe he was trying to give Rich Lambert his due, and be like, okay, well, Rich Lambert told us to, give it a try first, and then we can have commentary on it. And so he did, and it sucked, and he was honest about it sucking. I guess that pissed off people at ZeniMax, and they reached out to him after that video. The video is called Worst MMO Update in History, I think. The thumbnail is like Update 34 or Update 35 failed, something like that. Anyways, they reached out to him. I guess it was a community manager that reached out to him and was kind of awkward and hesitant, and asked him, like, are you, we saw you made this video, like, do you still want to work with us? And he said, well, yeah. And then I guess they went on to lecture him about making shock jock content like Howard Stern, and not to have emotional reactions like that, or engage in unconstructive criticism, and how with power comes responsibility. He was told, I guess, threatened that, the gaming industry is really small and other gaming companies wouldn't work with a small content creator who was unprofessional. Told not to say things he wouldn't say to the developer's face in person. Man. So this is the point of the video where I've really got to start shifting gears a little bit. Now, I said in my last video that I'm not going to be as charitable towards the development team as I was before. Now, a policy of mine is that I generally don't say anything to a camera or behind a screen that I wouldn't say to a person in real life. And this is true. This is maybe it's because I don't have a filter IRL, which isn't true. I actually do have a filter. I'm very particular about when and where I say certain things. But generally speaking, I would rather be considered a villain for being honest than be an ass-kissing, brown-nosing liar. And the thing is too, if you really care about someone, you're going to be honest with them because you want them to know the truth, so that they can, because knowledge is power, and they can become the best version of themselves if they know the truth about things, if they're doing something wrong, whatever it is. If I see a friend trying to poke a Komodo dragon with a stick, I'm going to tell him he's being stupid and pull him away from that situation, or attempt to. Obviously, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. ZeniMax is, in fact, the poster child of that. They're branched off of Bethesda, the ultimate poster child of that very saying. So, yeah, I'm going to be a little bit less charitable. And by less charitable, I mean I'm going to say the things that I'm sure Nephus wishes he could say. Maybe he doesn't want to say these things. Maybe he wouldn't condone them. But I understand where he's coming from, and how the strain on his mental health has been so heavy from all of this. And it's made him want to just be the better man and rise above. And I admire that, and I think it's the right decision for him. I don't have a relationship with ZeniMax. So, and maybe that would change one day. Maybe I would meet them, or members of their team or whatever. I don't know. But if that happens, anything I say in this video, I would say directly to them as well. And I want you to take my word on that. The phone call that Nephus QS received in response to his Update 35 video is one of the most egregious, unforgivable piece of shit things I've ever heard. And I'm not surprised to hear it coming from a Bethesda studio. However, I was hoping ZeniMax could be at least some modicum of more professional and appropriate than Bethesda. Sadly, that's clearly not the case. Now, I don't know if this has anything to do with the Microsoft buyout. I wouldn't be surprised if it did, because obviously the game's gotten worse since their ownership of the studio. Obviously, the industry has gotten worse since Microsoft has gotten into it. I would say a lot of it has to do with Phil Spencer. I think Phil Spencer is a chud. And yes, Phil, if you ever watch this, I would let's meet up for a beer. I'll buy you the beer, and I will call you a chud to your face. I think you deserve to hear it. Anyways, so here's the thing. I don't believe under any circumstances that there's good optics for a company to get so flustered by one content creator talking about their mistakes openly, and then to subsequently try and silence or control what that person says. There's no justification in the world, I don't think, that could really make that make sense to me. Now, obviously, you don't want someone lying about you, but if they're telling the truth, if they're giving their honest truth, that bothers me. Now, Nephus also said that it seemed as if someone higher up in the company had tapped a community manager to make that call. And it makes me feel like it's a pride thing. Now, I know Rich Lambert has a pride issue. He thinks he's the cream of the crop. He thinks he's Macho Man Randy Savage. He always rises to the top. It's not true. He's absolutely wrong about that. I couldn't point to a single positive change that he was directly responsible for coming up with. And no, I'm not even going to count Tales of Tribute. Now, I do think Tales of Tribute is a good thing to have exist in a game like Elder Scrolls Online, but the timing was wrong. The amount of focus that they spend on it is wrong. In general, just the way they handle it, other than keeping it balanced, is just wrong. It was the wrong time to do something like that. We really needed something meaty, something juicy to sink our teeth into as a community, and that's not really what we got. Most people aren't interested in a card game because when they buy an action MMORPG. I don't know why I have to explain that. And I also think it's ironic that they would tell Nephus QS, of all people, to be constructive in his criticism, even though he advised Zoss's team on their updates. That don't make much sense. And as a result, he gets forced to sort of censor himself and gets called a shill by the community. Now, I always pointed to the Update 35 video as proof that he's not a shill. Obviously, that happened before he kind of shifted his content a little bit. And now I wouldn't say that his content since then has been, brown-nosing, jerking off the company kind of thing. I don't think that he's a shill. Clearly, he's not from this video. I'm just so, I don't know. It bothers me a lot that he felt that he had to change his content in that way, or that he, felt so disrespected by that. I mean, the stress led him to getting shingles, apparently, and he was in the hospital for that. And like after that, he started to feel like they didn't value him on the content on the stream team compared to other content creators. Felt like there was a favoritism and clickiness, which, I mean, he says he feels was always there, and I agree. I've seen kind of how all that works, and I just feel like, yep, that's pretty much, that makes sense to me. But then he started to feel like he was like a token Asian on the team, like a diversity hire. And He said he doesn't know if that's their intent. I don't know either. But it also feels like, man, I wouldn't put it past ZeniMax to do something like that. Knowing all I know about them, knowing some of the stuff they've done this past year, I wouldn't put that past them. I really wouldn't. And I hate saying that. I want ZeniMax to be a good company, but I don't trust them. Who does at this point? So was he a diversity hire? I don't know, but I can't imagine how it feels to be hired only because you have a certain racial background, something you don't control. I think it's, well, to be fair, I can imagine how that feels. I often am only kept around in certain groups of people because I have skills that are valuable to them. They don't care about me as a person, or there's it's different, but not being valued as a human being does suck. Apparently, another thing he talked about, he wanted to get devs involved in runs to give them better, humanize them. But they never followed through on any of that. Apparently, they don't want to be humanized. I mean, I'm not surprised by that coming from them. I think that they didn't want to get called out by anybody for being bad at the game, not knowing how their own game works, understanding the day-to-day gameplay or anything of it. Which is why someone like me would never end up on the stream team or creator program as they've changed it to now. I'll get to that in a bit. But I guess it even gets worse with some of the drama where some other ESO stream team members approached him to pressure him to not feature certain people on his podcast, or to delete certain videos, or ban people they didn't like from the Discord. Now, this is a problem that's rampant throughout the entire ESO community. I think it's at its worst probably well, no, I'm not going to say that, because when it comes to content creation, when it comes to like some of the mentality that people have around even the slightest modicum of fame or power, authority of any kind, people go nuts and they get really stupid. So I'm not going to say that it's worse in one place than it could be there, because I bet I'm not in that space, and I bet it's fucking awful, because I know how people work. Because I look at like something like the RP community, which is something I was involved in for a long time, and kind of loosely have at my fingertips at all times still, because that's where I met all my ESO friends, pretty much. And I mean, they're just as corrupt and evil. I mean, it's actually, I would argue, when I got involved, it was fine, but as the game got more popular and people started to try and bring more structure into the RP community, it got so much worse so quickly, and it is such a disgusting cesspool of favoritism, nepotism, garbage, that I don't recommend it to anyone to get involved in, because it is absolutely atrocious. Now, if you have the most palatable personality and or whatever, like, you probably do fine in there, but it's so catty and fake that it's not worth it. Anyways, I'm getting off track. But that type of drama showing up in the creator space doesn't surprise me, but it does disappoint me. And it makes a lot of sense. Like I said, I've seen this with, you give someone a moderator role in a Discord and they lose their minds with power. It's insane. It's wild. It's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, being part of the stream team, the corruption would run rampant, guaranteed. But then apparently he made a video. Apparently, I watched his video. He made a video talking about how he's going to reduce the amount of ESO content he was making and change the types of ESO content he was making. I think it was early in 2024, and apparently that caused a stir among the dev team, because they told him, like, oh, well, you should have warned us about this. You should have told us about this. You should have communicated. And I'm like, is ZeniMax really in any position to be telling anyone else that they need to communicate better? Like, are you kidding me? this is a joke, right? This is an April Fool's haha funny joke, because that's absurd. How do you have that little self-awareness? Absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. Turn my light on. So I guess Nephus QS's plan initially was to quit ESO completely in April 2025 after the in-person meetup in Baltimore. It was Baltimore in the US, so that he could at least still meet some of the people who still wanted to meet him prior to him quitting. But it would be his last in-person meetup. He'd go to the Amsterdam one, and then he'd do that one, and then be done. Which respectable. And I mean, he was treating it sort of like a funeral goodbye type thing. It was a wake, which I don't blame him for that. Then he decided, like when he was going to the Amsterdam meetup, he was going to bring of course, him and his partner were going to go, and he was going to get together like a streaming backpack so we could do an in-person live stream at the event, and bring people. Make people aware that he was going to be streaming while he was there, and make it so that the camera could be put down. He wouldn't have people on camera who didn't want to be on camera, especially like VTubers, stuff like that. He would try to avoid that, and have like a group of people around him that could kind of like make it clear that he's got a camera, he is live streaming, so that people who didn't want to be on camera wouldn't be, and there were people who were able to avoid it and just say hi through text or whatever. But I guess a couple of VTubers at the event got mad at him because they ended up appearing on his for like 10, 20 seconds on a 30-hour live stream, which is like, okay, all right, well, your privacy is important, I get that, but how did you not know? And to top it off, I mean, there were also like taking selfies with people at the event. Oh, whatever. Anyways, one of them reached out to Nephus to ask him to remove a video that he or they, I don't know their pronouns, but whoever they are, they appeared in, like I said, like 20 seconds of video, and he reached out to Nephus to have him take it down. All right. So Nephus takes it down, edits the video to remove him, and then re-uploads it. And obviously you miss out on a lot of ad revenue when you do that. Which is going to help pay for his trip, because ZeniMax only offered to pay for him to come, not his +1. So they had to cover their other expenses and stuff like that. And of course, the streaming backpack and all that. It's an expensive endeavor, especially going to Europe from the States. It's just going to be an expensive endeavor. That's just the way it is. But then I guess a community manager, like an influencer manager and shit like that from ZeniMax, pulled him aside shortly after that interaction. I think the next day, telling him that two VTubers escalated the issue with the team and that he needed to take action. And he's like, okay, well, I took down one, like, what else am I missing here? And then like he gets another email after that, even after he did more like editing or whatever, telling him to take down content. And he's like, well, if there's more shit that's in the videos, like, I need timestamps. I need to know who's in the video that I'm editing out. And they were like, okay, yeah, we'll follow up with you. And of course, given Zoss's communication track record, they didn't do that, because of course they didn't. Because why would they? Because it's ZeniMax. Communication, but you got to lecture other people about communication, Zoss. Yep, absolutely. So. This continues, and he gets. So then he goes on and he makes a video about some data mined info about the update 44 PvP changes. Since we didn't get an official announcement about what those changes were going to entail until much later in the year. and spent the first 2 minutes of that video talking about etiquette. Don't upload my video to forums because it doesn't belong there. It's not allowed. Don't do that stuff. Don't spoil this. If it does end up being true, don't spoil it for people. A lot of people want to wait until the announcement to see it live and have the reactions live. Just be respectful, be mindful. And this is, data mining is not something that's against terms of service. It's allowed. It's generally done all the time. There's a whole website dedicated to a data miner team that does this stuff. You can go and download models from the game. Like it's a thing. So I guess that video also pissed off ZeniMax, and they reached out to him and accused him of hacking the game files to get this information when nephus QS clearly does not have the time as a content creator to learn how to, because I don't know if he knows any programming. But then he'd have to go in and learn how to do all of it. But also it's very time consuming to break apart a game's code and pull out all the things from it. And I just don't think he has the time to do that. I don't understand why they would accuse him of that. It makes no sense. Nothing about nephus QS that I know of leads me to believe that he has any knowledge of how to do any of that stuff or the time. So at this point, it feels like it's targeted harassment on ZeniMax's part. Like what are you doing? Are you really going to treat your content creators like this? Like this is the people that you want to be the voice of your company. Like clearly, they want to be the voice of the company, and it's wild to me that they're going to treat them like this, because it's like, from what I can tell at this point, I mean, granted, I'm about to contradict myself a little bit here, because I'm sitting here saying you want these people to be the voice of your company, but the thing is that what has been made clear by all of this is that the stream team for ZeniMax, for Elder Scrolls Online, was not a way for the company to engage with their community and to support, content creators and keep a healthy interest in the game, so they could learn from the feedback and improve the game, to cater to the people who already play it and pay them money to play it and stuff like that. But a way to mitigate damage from a more popular content creator when any damage to their brand that might occur when they make a mistake and a big content creator makes a video about it. They don't want an Asmongold coming in and destroying the reputation. Not that that's how that works. I mean, obviously they have an influence. However, it's not as big as they think. And it's also like, just you have a company of like several hundred employees. You have a stream team that's like more than a dozen people. There's people who are in the know, right? And the thing is the more people who know about something, the more people that it reaches, the harder it is to keep secrets, right? So when you do egregious shit like this, where you lie to people and you manipulate people and you try to control the narrative, people are inevitably going to find out. I mean, maybe you won't care by that point. Maybe you'll have made your money by that point. I mean, clearly, like I said, you made $2 billion in 10 years, which is wild for an MMO. That's actually good. That's really good money for an MMO. However, you don't deserve that money. You didn't earn that money, in my opinion, because you cheated people, because you've been scamming people, and because you're lying and manipulating. I don't think you deserve it. And yeah, again, this is all shit that I'll say to your face if I see you, people as ZeniMax. But wait, it gets worse. So TwitchCon 2024 happens, and there's also an ESO meetup around there. And Nephus QS was only going, because at this point he's pretty disillusioned and doesn't want to be involved with anything ESO related. But he's going because he has a good friend who is doing a DJ set at the ESO meetup, and he wanted to go to help because he's a smaller content creator. He wanted to go and help him live stream his performance, his set, to his audience, so that to kind of grow his audience and get the word out, and just also to provide that extra support for the technical side, I assume, of streaming. So they're sitting at the event, and before they start, Gina Bruno is up there. She's talking about stuff, he plays this clip of it, and I mean, this is the most uncomfortable shit of all time. This is wild. I cannot. Okay, let me just get into it. So Gina Bruno's up there, and she's like, "Okay, before we begin, we're not going to start until we don't want people because we don't want people streaming. We don't want people live streaming this at all." And looks directly at Nephus QS in the audience. You can see it from his perspective. She looks directly at him, and then she's like, "Yeah, we're not going to start until Nephus turns off his camera, puts it away." And I'm just like, so apparently, Nephus's DJ friend was told he could live stream before, and then suddenly he's no longer allowed to. And Nephus was like, "But he's live streaming himself for this," and she's like, "Yeah, but that's different." And it's like, is it? Now, Nephus didn't know how to take this. He didn't really know how what he was feeling. It was a new experience for him, which I don't blame him. But he was being publicly humiliated. The way Gina Bruno handled that situation is unforgivable. If I had seen, oh my god, if I had seen that shit, I don't watch all those events. I don't watch live streams typically. Very rarely. I watch like the Game Awards sometimes, not every year, but I watch it sometimes. I watch the big, beginning of year update live stream from ESO. I usually watch any other streams that they might do. Usually, if it's a big announcement, I'll usually watch it. But generally, I don't watch streamers. It's just not a type of content I typically enjoy. And I also don't. That's also why I don't stream, because I don't enjoy the content. So if I'm not going to make content that I don't enjoy making. But if I'd seen that, I would have been so much meaner. I'm almost sad that I'm missing out on the opportunity to be a little bit more harsh in my criticisms, because that is unbelievable. It's fucking unbelievable. Gina Bruno is one of the only people at ZeniMax that I actually kind of liked. I thought she was cool. Now, granted, she's a community manager, and seeing how she handles things, I'm like, she feels kind of fake. A lot of that smiles and positivity shit that she exudes, I was just like, I'll buy it, because I've known tons of fake people. I worked in a theater for 6 years. I went to an art school. Everyone's fake. So I know fake when I see it, and I just assumed a lot of it was fake. But she seemed genuinely nice as well. So, and she's just a community manager. She just controlled the direction of the game and stuff. But that is the most heinous, shitty thing. I have been publicly humiliated before. I have had a person stare unblinkingly at me while surrounding me with their friends, who I also am familiar with and work with, and publicly shame me for basically nothing. Like, I know what that feels like, and it was horrific. I am still fucked up from it. This was years ago. I'm still fucked up from it. I imagine most people who were there probably don't even remember it, except the person who was directly involved in doing it. But I don't imagine that that experience that I had was nearly as damaging mentally as having the community manager for the game that I love and am partnered with do that to me in front of all of my peers who I work with, who I like in front of my live stream. Like, I just couldn't imagine it. Like the amount of, the man already got shingles. You know what I'm saying? Like, the man already suffered from the stress of this, of dealing with this company prior. And then have this happen. Like, I'm just going to say, this is Blizzard levels of unforgivable for me. At this point, I would genuinely not be surprised if ZeniMax as a company has a body count. I'm not kidding. I don't believe that this company wants to do right by its community anymore. I don't know what happened, because I do believe that there was a point where genuinely that was the goal within ZeniMax. I do believe that. I think things fell off largely around the Microsoft buyout or shortly after, because it takes a while for the parent company to kind of get integrated and start actually fucking things up. Usually it takes a while. So, and I think that they're like Nephus says this as well. I do think that there are people that work at ZeniMax that are still passionate, do still care about the community, do want to make a good product, are genuinely good people. But it's less than I thought. Gina Bruno, if you watch this video, you should be 100% absolutely ashamed of yourself. If you don't shed tears over feeling bad about what you did in that scenario, I think you're probably broken emotionally. Like, you are probably not a good person to your core, like genuinely. There's something fucked if you don't feel some level of compassion, some level of empathy for how you made Nephus feel in that moment. That is absolutely disgusting. And like I said, unforgivable, inexcusable, absolutely ridiculous. Like, are you fucking kidding me? That's disgusting. And that, like, I was already pretty done with this game. A lot of people clearly are, but that's it. That's the thing. That's the last straw. We're not doing this. I'm not going to sit by and be like, oh, well, maybe they're trying their best. Maybe they just don't, maybe they're still learning. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that anymore. You fucked up. You are a shit company. You have done horrible things to people. And it's not just about you made a game that sucks anymore, or you took a game that was good and made it suck. You are actively damaging your player base. Actively. You have the most egregious monetization in the fucking industry, probably. Well, not most, but you are up there. You are one of the worst MMOs for monetization that's ever existed. You don't deserve the $2 billion you made over the past 10 years. You don't deserve any spot at I was going to talk about how I wanted there to be a spot at the Game Awards for recognition for ESO as a labor of love, but clearly it doesn't deserve it. Somebody that works for the Game Awards, or maybe it's Jeff Keighley himself, somebody there knows the true soul of your company, and that's why you're not acknowledged at any awards ceremony, at any big gaming hullabaloo. You don't get acknowledged, and you don't deserve it. And I'm glad now. I'm glad you don't get any fucking recognition, because you don't deserve it. And all the Final Fantasy 14 players that fucking hate me and that I don't like either. I don't hate them, but all the Final Fantasy 14 players that come out at me and tell me that my game has always been trash and why would I ever like it? And the fact that you're proving these toxic pieces of shit, right? These people who sexualize lollies, and not every Final Fantasy 14 player is like that. I get that. But in comparison to ESO, I'm sorry, Final Fantasy 14 is 1,000 times more degenerate. Just saying. And it's ugly. Art design is good. Art design, I'm not gonna lie about that. The art design is good. Everything else about the game is ugly. It has like the ugliest fucking UI. Anyways. I'm done. I don't even think I'm going to keep ESO installed on my PC at this point. I'm definitely removing the PTS at this point. I'm not testing your fucking changes before they come out anymore. Not after what you did to me last time. Not after the fact that you just genuinely are hurting people that I personally think don't deserve it. Not that anyone really deserves to be hurt, but that, you know what I'm saying? Like, that this shit is, Nephus is such a chill dude, and he was trying to build up this community and genuinely leave a positive impact on all of us, and then you shit on him. And I'm not going to get over that. It's not happening. I'm not letting you get away with this. This game is dead to me. This community is going to die shortly after. I mean, I think your servers are going to be shut down in a couple of years. Like, I genuinely believe that at this point. That Nephus's video is going to be, I think, in a large way, the final nail in the coffin for a lot of people in the ESO world. My last video was the final nail in the coffin for several people. That people that told me so, and probably more that didn't. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's over. If even me, a small content creator that nobody fucking knows, I'm not even partnered with YouTube. I don't make any money on this. I barely ever crack 5,000 views. If even my content is turning people off of this game, Nephus's content, which is way better than mine, and has way more reach, the game's dead. The game is dead. You don't like Alcast doesn't make guides anymore. Fingrush got kicked out of the community for being a giant piece of shit who hunted down and harassed role players in game. And ZeniMax took forever to even act on it. The fact that like Zos will reach out to Nephus about a video he made and demonstrate in that communication that they didn't even watch the fucking video is just more proof that they didn't even watch the videos that I literally sent directly to them for them to watch, to ban people who were cheating in their game that they never banned. Just proves that my point on that further. Like, holy hell. And it gets worse. I mean, like he gets promised another follow-up after that whole situation at TwitchCon, ESO meetup in the area, like whatever it was. And they never followed up on that either. Imagine that. Then randomly they were like, oh, we're just gonna replace the stream team with the creator program. And we're gonna have two categories. We're gonna have content creators and we're gonna have streamers. And so we'll have a class system, because that always goes well. Yeah, we'll have a class system. Don't worry, content creators. Don't worry, my little cinnamon buns. You're still going to keep most of the perks that you had before. I promise. Except the only perk that you had before was giveaway codes. And no, you don't get to keep those because you're not in the streaming category. You're not a streamer, even though he streams the ESO content. You literally got mad at him for streaming. Oh God! And they didn't tell him. They didn't tell him anything about this beforehand, because clearly they wanted them to reach out and be like, "Where are my perks?" And they'll be like, "Well, you gotta really adjust how you talk about us. You don't want to hurt our fifis, and so you got to adjust how you want to talk about us if you want your perks back." It was an opportunity for them to lecture people, and it's ridiculous that anyone has to say that out loud, but that's what they were doing, and it's very clear that's what they were doing. Do you put it past Zos at this point? They're trying to control the narrative. It just further plays into the point I made earlier about how the stream team / creator program is not designed to support the community, engage with them, and get feedback to learn from and improve their game. It's just to control the narrative. Control the popular narrative. It's just the same thing they do in the forums where like, oh, no. You can't talk about the outcome of a punitive action taken against your account. You can't go out on our forum and warn people not to break the TOS. You can't do that. When we make a stupid change to the TOS, you're not allowed to tell people about it. That's not how that works. You can't name and shame people. You can't go like, hey, that guy went and said some stuff about oh man, this was a bit that I wrote for my previous version of this video. I'm going to get into it now a little bit, but basically I'm going to shorten it because this is a long video. This has to do with the censorship shit and basically how they auto censor stuff and why it doesn't work. I've already talked about this before, but I'm going to talk about this, a very specific scenario from my experience and why I don't trust them to make the right changes in terms of censorship or moderation, because it's not about moderating certain words that are said. It's about the reporting system and the reporting system not working. There was a person that I was friends with. We were kind of close. They were going through some shit and confided in me some dark things that were going on in their life. So to make them feel less alone and more comfortable, I confided in them something that happened to me that was pretty heavy. I was a victim of rape. This happened years ago. It ruined my life for a while for various reasons. And I talked about the person that did it and the kind of relationship that we'd had prior and why it happened and all that stuff. So for one reason or another, we kind of grew apart. We didn't talk as much. And then I caught them harassing a very good friend of mine at the time, who's now my girlfriend, but wasn't at the time. And I called it there. I was like, no, we're not friends anymore. Fuck you. You don't do that shit. You just don't. And I don't block people because I don't like to cut off the roots of communication if they really need it. You know what I mean? And besides, if I blocked them, they would just move on from me to harass someone else. But I was in a good mental state at the time, and I knew I could take it, so I just left it. And they started using the name of my rapist to harass me. And that was when I drew the line. So at that point, I blocked them, I reported them, and then they enlisted others to do the same. Nothing ever came of any of the reports, and I know that this is the case because they got banned. Well, they got suspended a couple times and then banned, but all of those suspensions and the subsequent ban, I saw the emails that they received about those, and they had nothing to do with literally harassing me for being a rape victim. Because they didn't use any naughty words, they just used the name of my attacker. So I knew it's ridiculous. What they're doing is insane. And that the reporting doesn't work, and that no amount of flagging specific words will work because you can be way more offensive without doing that. And then they made a second account and they came back to do it more. And they have still, I don't think they've been banned still. They're still around as far as I'm aware. They still enlist friends to do the same thing. And the blocking system just doesn't work. I'm not going to go into and further illustrate that. I've already talked about it. I'm tired of talking about it. It's fucking annoying that it's still a problem. But anyways, I then found out that this company has also gathered a meeting of their content creator program together to brief them on the director's end of year letter before it came out, so that they could, I would assume, so they could control the narrative on how people addressed it and to limit people's panic. And that doesn't surprise me at all. And that's why I think it's really, really funny that a bunch of people have come out about the director's letter and said a bunch of horrible things about the company and why they're done with the game. And I am too. That's what I'm here for. That's why I'm talking about it. Matt Feror, if you ever watch this video, I know you're a busy man. I know you're lying to us. I know you're ignoring the issues, the auto censorship that happened this year, the absolute joke, slap in the face insult that was the Gold Road story, the backlash that you tried to censor to every fucking bit of it, every step of the way, the amount of comments that are now removed from your Twitch streams, the fact that you deleted the VOD of the developer stream of the new Battlegrounds update because it was such a train wreck. You haven't talked about the strike. You haven't talked about the backlash, the censorship. You haven't talked about the fact that this game is in an atrocious state that nobody's really happy with. And now you're gonna switch it up. And now, I called this at the beginning of the year. My first big video on ESO this year was straight up, this is why ESO is stagnating. They're not doing anything new or interesting. And now you're doing new and interesting things. However, you're taking away the giant content updates. It does make it feel like we're not really going to get our money's worth if we do subscribe to this game. We don't know what the future holds. We don't know. We're not given any reason to believe that you're going to do any of the things you did because you're claiming you're going to do. Because at the end of the day, what happened with the update 35? All those changes are still live. That update has still ruined the experience of the game for a lot of people, and it's still not been acknowledged. You just let it go. It's over. I'm sorry. Your game is dead. It's done. You've killed it. This is what you've taken your golden goose and you've killed it, because what are you doing? You're moving people over from your current team to work on your other MMO project. And you promised us that it wasn't going to affect the quality of ESO content. And yet it has, but you won't tell us that, because if you don't tell us, then how will we ever know? Because we're not insiders. We don't know that stuff. Except we do know. I know. Because I can see it. I've seen this happen with 1,000 games. What do you think? I'm not good at pattern recognition? Bro, I play Elder Scrolls Online. The whole game is pattern recognition. Like, I'm sorry. It's not like you have the most advanced AI in the world. They work in the same patterns. I see what they're doing, and I see what you're doing. I see right through it. You are the worst fucking liars in the industry, except for Ubisoft. But, I mean, they're French. All they know is lying. And they're also not good at that or anything else. So no, I'm done. I'm done dealing with this bullshit. You are a shit company. You are run by shit people. Rich Lambert does not deserve any level of accolades. He doesn't deserve his position. I don't know how the hell he got it. I don't know if, like, he's fucking your sister, and so you're like, oh well, I'll give him a job. I don't know how he got it, because he clearly is not cut out for it. He's so fucking bad at it. It's absurd. I don't know what Microsoft is doing to your company. But I know that the problems existed prior to. I just think they've gotten worse. And I don't know why you're on strike entirely. I know it has something to do with Microsoft not, following through on some promises or some shit. But you guys should be so experienced with people not following through on promises. It's your entire MO. How do you not know? How are you not prepared for this? Like, you don't have any contingencies? What the hell? And so who gets to suffer? Us. But who has to suffer in silence, because you won't let us talk about it and you won't tell us what's really going on. You can't even be that level of honest with us. And it's fucking insulting. How stupid do you think people are? I mean, clearly you think we're very stupid. If you think I'm going to pay $40 fucking for the ugliest fucking mount I've ever seen in a game. Ugh. This is a nightmare. This is so depressing. I'm so glad I've been getting out of this game, because, like, clearly this ship is sinking and you don't care. You don't want to see it float again. You don't want to see it because you hate the customer base. You hate the people that play your game. I don't know why you hate them. I mean, I know that there's some vocal assholes in the community, but that's true of every community. Like, what? Like, how many Swifties have you met that you actually like? That you actually enjoy their company? Probably not that many. Like, when something gets popular, the amount of toxicity and rampant in it goes through the roof, and the longer it exists for, the more toxicity grows within the community, because you get the old veterans who hate the newbies, and you get the people who are older than that who hate the veterans and the newbies, and it's just nuts. And you don't listen to anyone's feedback at this point. It's absurd. You suck, and I hope this game dies now. I'm so fucking done with it. I'm so fucking done with you. I hope your next game flops, fails out of the gate, and I hope that some genuine company that actually gives a shit about its player base comes up and makes a game with similar combat, because there's still no game that has the same level of combat that this game has. It's still my favorite combat in any MMO I've ever played. I still think it's a really good combat system, even if it has a ton of flaws. They're not foundational. The foundations are good. You just puked on them. That's what it is. It smells bad. It's rotting. It's not good. But the foundations are still strong. You get a pressure washer in there, and I mean, maybe things will go okay. But I don't think you're interested in that. I think you like the smell of puke. So I'm about done talking about this. I don't think this is going to be the last ESO video I make. Honestly, I'm probably going to talk about more stuff they do, because at this point, they are a minstrel show. They are a bunch of clowns running around in front of me, and I would be so stupid to not take advantage of the opportunity to make fun of a bunch of stupid fucking clowns who don't realize that they're stupid fucking clowns. And like I've said before, I think there's good people that work there. It's really hard to name any of them. But I know that you know who you are. If you work for ZeniMax and you're as frustrated as I am about all this, I'm sure you're one of the good ones. And you may not agree with everything I've said in this video, and you might think I was too harsh, but I am sorry. I'm not going to be made to feel bad for picking on a multi-billion-dollar company that has actively harmed its users over the past 10 years and asked us to pat them on the back for doing so. It's not happening. I'm not going to be made to feel bad for that. You suck at this. Get better. Stop being such pieces of shit. Listen to the people who line your fucking pockets in the first place. Not the investors, not the parent company. Fuck them. Fuck Microsoft. Windows 11 is one of the worst things they've ever made ever. Outlook also sucks. But the people who actually buy your product and engage with it, listen to them. They do matter. There's some shitty actors in the community. I get that. Nephus Qus is not one of them. He's just not. So take your game and shove it. I'm going to go play Nightingale. I'm going to play some more. I got Yakuza 0 for Christmas from a homie. I'm going to go play that. That's really fun. The developers are clearly having a good time making those games, so I am down with that. I'm hoping the next CDPR game isn't shit, because if it is, I'm just going to play the Cyberpunk multiplayer mod when it comes out, and only that. And for the record, I don't think the next CDPR game, I don't think we can make any judgments about it yet. It's fine. There's nothing, like, guys, just chill out. Let it come down the pipeline a little farther. Don't scare them into doing something stupid. Okay? All right. So that's all from me. If you've watched this far, I really appreciate it. Nephus, if you've watched this, I imagine you probably won't, because I imagine you're fucking burnt out on anything ESO related. Don't want to hear their names anymore. I imagine if you're burnt out on that, that's totally fine. But if you do watch this, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I really think you deserve better, and it was a shame what they've done to you. And I'm here for whatever happens next for you. I'm curious to see where you take things. And yeah, it sucks, but I'm glad you've taken the time to move on. I'm glad you're getting away from this situation, because you deserve better things, and you're not going to get them from ZeniMax at this point. It's clear. Thanks for all the content, and thanks for making the stuff you've made so far. Especially this recent video. Like, fuck, man, that hurt. Okay, so I will see you all in the next video. Don't know what it's going to be at this point. I was going to make a Tan Lauren video, but I feel like it's such an irrelevant thing at this point that it might not. I don't know. But I still have a funny idea for us, so maybe I'll just do it. We'll see. I have to do it on PTS. I have to do it on PTS, because I don't want to actually grind out her rep. I'll just use the PTS tools to do it. Oh, okay. Anyways, once again, if you watch this far, I appreciate it. If you like the things I'm making and whatnot, please stick around. I got more on the way. Go sub to Nephus. I'm going to link his channel and his video in the description below, and go check out his stuff. And I will see you all in the next one. Peace.